Welcome to this lesson video for solving equations for roots. It's our day 2. We're solving equations by factoring to find the x value when our graphs cross the x-axis. Okay, so that's why we're solving and finding roots. So we're going to start simple. The directions say solve for the roots, so let's take care of that first. Now, using our factoring methods, we should know that we would use an x puzzle to factor this problem. So negative 18 would go on top, and 3 would go on the bottom. Now, what two numbers multiply to negative 18 and add to a 3? Well, we know we're going to have one negative, one positive, and we would actually have a negative 3 and a positive 6. Okay, so to factor this guy, we just made the two groups, remember, with an x in front, and we plugged in our numbers, minus 3 plus 6. But here's the thing, here's what's different. We've got this f of x equals, or maybe there would be a y equals there. The point is we have an equal sign there. So that's kind of your hint that you're solving and you have to do one more step. Set each individual group equal to 0, like so, and solve. So to undo subtracting 3 from x, I would add 3 to both sides, remember? So x equals a positive 3. Okay, and on the other side, I would subtract 6, because that's what we'll undo adding 6. So x would equal 0 minus 6, a negative 6. Now, if you look at the directions, it says sketch a picture of the graph and label what x equals from our factoring. So in this box, draw a quick coordinate plane. And in class, we use something called GeoGebra. Now, you can download this on your computer. It's free, and it's kind of a cool thing to have. So take a look. Our equation was f of x equaled x. Now, the only thing is to get a power, you have to do that little caret key. So shift 6 on my keyboard. So x squared plus 3x minus 18. And then once you type your equation in, hit enter, and it graphs it. But it's kind of hard to see, so I need to zoom out. And once I zoom out, I just click with my mouse. And you know, I think that's a pretty good picture. Remember, x equaled, let's go back, x equaled a positive 3 and a negative 6. My graph should show that. Negative 6, that looks about right, and a positive 3. So just kind of see how low it goes and how it's kind of a skinny U shape. And we're going to try to depict that in our quick sketch on our worksheet. So let's say here this is negative 6, and let's say roughly here this is 3. So we're going to have kind of a skinny shaped U that probably should go all the way down to the bottom of our box because it went way down there. Okay, so that's kind of a rough picture of what our graph looked like. So that's what I'm looking for. So let's try another one. This time we're going to use a different factoring method. Because of that 2 there, we have to divide and slide. So remember the first step was to do the first number times the last number. Okay, we want to multiply those guys. And in our next line, we actually drop that 2. Okay, so 2 times negative 15, negative 30. And then we did an x puzzle from here. Negative 30 was on top, negative 7 was on the bottom. What multiplies to negative 30 adds to negative 7? Let's see. Well, we know we need one negative number and one positive. What pair of 30 can I get a 7? A negative 7. Oh, what about this? A negative 10 and a positive 3. That pair will do it. So then in our factoring, remember we did two groups. Okay, it's kind of like example 1 we just did, where we put minus 10 plus 3. But we said this was divide and slide, so I'll put D and S for divide and slide. We have to do something different from number 1 because it's a different setup. Divide and slide, remember, we physically divide, but we divide by that number, that first number. Now, when I was grading quizzes and different worksheets, you've got to be careful. You have to reduce these fractions before you move on. So 10 divided by 2, actually that just turns into a 5. 3 divided by 2, can I reduce that at all? Do they share a common factor? Nope, so I keep 3 halves. Now the only other thing I can do now is to slide because I still have that fraction. So bottoms up, the bottom number comes up when you slide. So we would have x minus 5 times 2x plus 3. Now, I haven't been writing it, but technically we still have that f of x equals these two guys, all right? So that equals tells me, hey, you've got to set x minus 5 equal to 0. And you've got to set 2x plus 3 equal to 0. So to break that minus 5, I would add 5. Okay, so x will equal 0 plus 5. X will equal, oh, sorry, my bad. Oh, goodness. Now I'm moving all the wrong stuff. Yikes. Okay, so x equals this 5. I think I got it all adjusted back. Okay, and then over here, am I allowed to get rid of the 2 or the 3 first? Well, actually, you have to break the addition first. So we would subtract by 3. Okay, so 2x equals negative 3. And then how would I get rid of this 2? What's going on between 2 and x? They're being multiplied. So break up the multiplication, we would divide. Okay, so x will equal a negative 3 halves. Notice we had 3 halves earlier up in the groups, but it's just the opposite. It was plus, down here it's minus. So if you want to make that jump, you can, to avoid all of this, okay? Now, we're supposed to get our graph, so let me sketch my axis real quick, and then we'll jump back over to GeoGebra. So let me remember the equation. Okay, so to be able to get a new equation, just hit File, New, and then I'm going to type in what it was. It was f of x equals 2, and now do a little star to denote multiplication. GeoGebra's kind of touchy about that. Minus 7 times, well, actually, I didn't have to do it on the last one, did I? Let's see if it doesn't need it. Minus 2x minus 15. Let's see if it does it right. So we can kind of see, again, it's kind of far down and skinny. Maybe we should zoom in a little bit to see if we agree with the x values. So I'm still not getting to count by ones, but we could probably figure it out. What did we get when we solved before? We got a positive 5 and a negative 3 halves. So negative 3 halves is like negative 1.5. So yeah, it looks like that's our negative 1.5, and it looks like that's our positive 5. Nice. So it worked for us. So remember, kind of get this sketch in your head, because we're going to make one of our own. So then let's see. If I go grab my pen, it was negative 1.5 and a positive 5. So maybe something like this, but again, it was a long, skinny U shape, something like that. Not the greatest, but we get the idea. But I would like you to label, okay? X equals negative 3 halves. X equals 5. Cool beans. All right, maybe one more for this video, and that will be it. Okay, so the same stuff again. Actually, even slide and divide again. Divide and slide, rather. Do the first number times the last number. And we are going to multiply those. And we're going to put that new number at the end. But I'm going to drop the 4. And 4 times 7 is 28. Okay. So I'm going to do an X puzzle here. 28 on top, 16 on the bottom. What will multiply to 28 and add to 16? Well, let's see, 2 and 14. That'll do it. Okay, so when I come over here and I factor in my groups, plus 2 plus 14, divide by that 4, okay, that we dropped. But you've got to be careful. Make sure you reduce these fractions before you go on, or it's just going to be wrong. Okay, it's going to mess it up. So 2 over 4. We would want to divide out a 2 from both of those guys. They both share 2. So then that would reduce to x plus a half. Okay, and over here, if we reduce by a 2, because both are divisible by a 2, I would end up with x plus 14 divided by 2 is 7, 4 divided by 2 would be a 2. Okay, now remember, like we talked about on the last one, the fraction we ended up with was like what we had before we slid, just opposite. So if you can make that jump, here's what we could say. It's gonna be a 1/2, but it's gonna be opposite. It was plus, so when we set it equal, it's gonna be minus, okay? Because I guess basically here's what we're doing. X plus a half equals 0. You could subtract a half, okay? If you like to see the work, that's what's happening. So that's why it's turning the opposite. And over here, we're gonna do the same thing. We would subtract 7/2 from both sides, okay? So then x would equal the negative 7/2. But if you just want to think about doing the opposite, save yourself some time, I'm totally okay with that. That doesn't bother me. Okay, so let's check GeoGebra. Okay, so we can get a sketch for our graph here. Let me get the equation. Okay, File, New. So f of x equals 4x squared plus 16x plus 7. Okay, and maybe I can zoom in a little bit on this one. Zoom in, zoom in, zoom in one more time. We were supposed to get, maybe I'll zoom in once more to try to get counting by 1. Yeah. Okay, so we were supposed to, based on our answers, cross at negative a half and negative 7/2. Now, negative 7/2 is like negative 3.5. So negative a half and negative 3.5. Oh yeah, that's where we crossed. So let me zoom back out to kind of get the shape again. So not as skinny, or, you know, far down as the other ones we had. So when we go back, let's see. We know that we're going to need our axis. And we know we're at negative 3.5 and negative 1/2. So roughly, you know, something like that would be okay. X equals negative 7/2 here. And x equals negative 1/2 at this point. All right, cool. So that's going to finish it up for us for this lesson. I will see you next time. Keep learning and have fun.